I have always loved comic books. Problem is, I grew up kind of poor. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, so the only access to comics that I had was the local library. They had like 2 shelves of comics, and what they had in stock had all been manhandled by a bunch of snotty kids. Like me. So I grew up rereading the same 6 issues over and over until all the pages had fallen out. Now I'm a grown man. I've moved on to greater things, but something in the back of my mind kept pulling me back to the good old days. And that's when I realized, I've got money now. And I think I'd like to finish the stories that I started when I was younger. This is Ultimate Nostalgia. Hello, and welcome back to Ultimate Nostalgia. I am your host, Comic Man, and today we are going over Ultimate Elektra. But in the wise words of the unnamed man from The Legend of Zelda, it's dangerous to go in alone. Here, take this. It's my brother David, aka Comic Man Boy.
If you say so.
I do. It's my show. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Yeah. Ultimate Elektra. We just talked about Ultimate Daredevil and Elektra, which also probably should have been called Ultimate Elektra because it's more about her than Daredevil. And this should just be called Ultimate Elektra 2, featuring Daredevil. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That sounds jarring with today's context of, oh, this was just a bait and switch.
For sure, yeah.
Where it turns out the story is just about Elektra. The story is very much about Daredevil. It's just that Elektra is the main character in both of these issues. This issue basically picks up exactly where the other one left off. There's no time jump. It's just a direct continuation of that story, which is at its core Elektra's story. But I think it's the perfect way to introduce Matt Murdock's lawyer character and his Daredevil alter ego. It's a pretty good story. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was done really well. And this the first arc, the Daredevil and Elektra arc, was more just introducing their characters, and kind of there was a lot of domestic abuse, handling issues of domestic abuse, and
that was their falling out on how to deal with that.
How to deal
Elektra
with
wants to
bad people,
murder the guy, and Daredevil's like, no, let's take him to court. But the contention was he's a trust fund kid, he's not going to get punished. And exactly. Elektra wants to take it into her own hands, and he wants to let the law take care of it, which so far disciplinary action hasn't happened. That was the last volume with Daredevil and Elektra. This Ultimate Elektra continues to explore these characters, again, mostly from Elektra's point of view. In the previous volume, we did get a pretty good chunk from Daredevil, a couple panels that were pretty good, but this one is pretty much all from Elektra's point of view, and we explore a lot of bigger villains. Matt Murdock is just in the background the whole time.
Yeah.
Casting a shadow over the story.
Yeah. But it was really good. I liked it. It's got Kingpin and Bullseye as well.
And
Bullseye. Of course, we already saw Kingpin in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Kingpin and Spider-Man, you saw him as an imposing figure, but you didn't really understand anything behind his character. He was just, okay, this is a smart guy, but he's also really strong, and he's a big threat. This one really gets into, hey, he's a complex villain. I will say, but between volumes, switching from Daredevil and Elektra to Elektra, the art style changes slightly. It's a new artist, and I don't like it as much. It's not terrible. It's not nearly as good.
Okay.
This is just like the second page, and
Foggy's face is particular is kind of funky.
Foggy looks horrible. He looks like a bullfrog.
The rest of it's not too bad though. It just takes some getting used to, especially coming from the ultimate Spider-Man and what we're going to talk about next, Ultimate X-Men, is a lot more cartoony style. So it was interesting to see Kingpin in particular drawn in a more realistic style, but in the same universe as the more cartoony Spider-Man. With we pointed out how Kingpin's hands were the size of Spider-Man's torso in that stylistic interpretation of him, and this is a little bit more realistic.
I kind of prefer more not cartoony comics, but stylized comics. I think
I would agree.
I think the realism comics are just a little bit boring. Like if you don't have your own, it doesn't have to be crazy stylized either. But I just like a little bit otherworldly. Like that's why I read comics anyway. I don't need ultra realism.
I agree.
Not that's not impressive either, but it's just not what I prefer.
I agree. And the one of the other issues with more realistic comics is when you get a panel that looks a little bit off, like Foggy's face here in the second page, it looks really weird, right? But
it's quite terrible.
But no, this story overall, I really liked it. It's Elektra is run in with some unsavory crowd that's helping out her father's laundromat business, and basically they want to launder money through the laundromat, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was in the wrong space. Yeah. It opens up with it's her cousin who works for Kingpin is putting pressure on her dad
in debt to the mob.
Yeah. His business is failing, and he strong arms that into now you work for me, and I'm going to use your business to launder money.
Yeah, exactly. And this is mostly Elektra struggling with how to deal with that and stand up to these forces that are moving behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. So here's where Kingpin is introduced. It's Elektra going in and beating up her cousins and saying, "Hey, you're not going to strong arm my dad." And then Kingpin walks in, and I think it's just the artwork here, the style. It doesn't work as well for me as the first time you see Kingpin in Spider-Man. He's like, he's got a lot more roles, and he's like, this is just a big fat guy, and not so much like this is a scary guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's the jowls, it's the camera angle, and the jowls on the side.
You don't take low angles if you want to look flattering. You take your selfies up here, It's kind of a little bit uncanny valley. I think that's because it's going for ultra realism, and it's not that good. And so I'm just not the biggest fan of the art style.
Yeah.
But the basic plot, which you'll see on the other panel, the basic plot of this whole section is the Kingpin's bookkeeper, who's laundering all the money, and you see him when he's introduced when Elektra's dad gets roped into the business.
Yeah.
He becomes disenchanted with the business because he's not respected very well, and they treat him like garbage. And so he decides to turn state's witness. And so this whole series it's Matt and Foggy's first day on internships at a big law firm, and they are trying to keep the bookkeeper from getting killed, and Kingpin and Elektra's cousin are both trying to assassinate him.
Yeah.
Which it's fun. Kingpin hires
Bullseye.
Kingpin hires Bullseye, like you brought up earlier, and Daredevil's cousin hires really incompetent people that constantly fail.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So in issue 2, there was a fun sequence, but also a little bit silly, where Daredevil throws his he's at the law firm as Mad Murdock.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Yeah, he's at the law firm, and people break in to find the books and to kill the guy.
And so he throws his cane to turn off the lights and beats him up, and then he throws a law book at him.
To
incapacitate the
still where he runs down the hall, and it shows this book that he picks up. It's half the size of him.
Yeah, it's this huge tome.
He chucks it at a guy. It's just huge.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. But then he, comes back on as they turn the lights back on and pretend he was hit on the head. Like, what happened?
Yeah,
So that was good. It's a little silly, but
yeah. Oh, man, are you okay? Yeah, I definitely didn't save everyone.
So at the same time, we've got Elektra sneaking out, trying to spy on Kingpin, find some information.
Yeah. She makes a deal to erase her father's debt with her cousin. He's like, hey, if you get me that ledger, then I'll forgive your dad's debt. So she dresses up as a prostitute.
Yeah.
Oh, but there was another funny panel that you wanted to highlight before Elektra dresses up as a hooker, and it shows the accountant ordering the service on the phone while he's watching TV, and it's he's watching Monty Python on the screen, right?
Yeah, he's clicking through the channels, and there's a little
he's clicking through a bunch of channels.
Excerpt from the lumberjack song from Monty Python's Flying Circus.
I'm an idiot. Hold on. Yeah, he's
I thought that was pretty funny.
Flicking through the channels, and it's news and stuff, and then one of them is Monty Python's Flying Circus, which is a fantastic little reference there.
Yeah, she dresses up as a prostitute, try to get the information from the guy that's in witness protection. Yeah.
But as she's trying to steal the ledger, Bullseye shows up.
Bullseye comes and assassinates the guy, and then she's on the run because she doesn't want to get caught and framed for said murder. So
there's a lot of framing in these. She gets framed. Daredevil gets framed. Her dad gets framed and goes to jail too. Like it's a circle. It's a cyclical circle of everyone getting framed and then let off the hook when they find.
Yeah. So then in issue 3, Bullseye confronts Elektra, and she hides from gunfire under a table, which is again a little silly. But it's comic books.
The quick review is I enjoyed most of the story. There wasn't a lot of good action, but that wasn't really what the focus of the story was. That being said, I would like to see Daredevil in action, and unfortunately he never appears in costume. Elektra does by the end, but he's just in his blacks like he is in this panel, which is sad.
Yep, even though in every single cover from the previous volume and this volume, both Daredevil and Elektra is in full costume, and there isn't another
making out too.
Yeah.
They're always
there isn't another Daredevil standalone series in the Ultimate Universe. So it is a shame. Daredevil's my favorite.
I like this version of him.
Yeah. But I hope he shows up in the Ultimates and
unique,
the team ups and that sort of thing. But
it's not exactly a unique take on Daredevil, but it's a good, solid take. And so it's a shame that they didn't explore him more. But I'm pretty sure he shows up in some of the crossover stuff, so it's important. So after they fight for a bit, Bullseye actually just lets her escape, but she's covered in the dead guy's blood, and he follows her home and then sends the police to her so she can get caught and arrested for the murder. But her dad ends up taking the fall because she hugged him, so he was also covered in blood. So he takes the fall for Elektra because he's a good dad.
Yeah, so then you see that Daredevil was tracking Bullseye, and you see that he
follows him back to his apartment where he's burning the evidence.
Yeah.
It's a good panel. I like this one.
Yeah.
Bullseye's got some high-tech boots though. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and some fancy holster, like shoulder underarm holster for his gun or something.
Yeah. So her dad getting framed is like the catalyst for her to hey, okay, Daredevil, let's work together and wipe out all my cousins and get them arrested. So there is a good fight scene with them. And okay, so Daredevil and Elektra, they beat up her cousins and interrogate him and find out that there's another copy of the ledger. And Bullseye is trying to assassinate the lawyer and get his hands on the copy that was made of the ledgers so that Kingpin is in the clear. They get the location of Bullseye's apartment from her cousin and find the address of where he's planning the assassination, and it turns out he's going to do it at the courthouse. They have to suit up and fight Bullseye in the courthouse. Let's show some of those. And you finally get Elektra in full costume.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. It's a good costume. And Matt is still just in a hoodie.
Yep.
Come on, give him his
Hoodie and
costume.
blindfold.
But yeah, then they have a showdown at the courthouse. I think the lawyer ends up dying anyway. But there's fighting for it. This is a pretty good fight scene. This is the best part of the comic fight scene. And he does kill the lawyer, gets away with his briefcase. Turns out the ledger wasn't in the briefcase. It was duct taped to his chest, but it didn't help him. And then Elektra betrays him and takes the ledger because she's going to sell it to Kingpin to erase her father's debt, and he was trying to arrest Kingpin. So
yep.
that's where they have their falling out. And that's where the whole comic like comes to a head is she's trying to do things her way, not having the same morals as Matt, and he's duty bound by the law. He's trying to make sure everyone's served justice, and so they're both trying to exonerate your dad, but the way they're going about it is pretty much reminiscent of the first volume, Daredevil and Elektra. Like they want the same thing, but they're willing to go about it differently because they don't share the same moral outlook on life, and it's really good.
Yeah, and this one is a lot more convincing, I think, for Elektra's character because it's her dad.
It's her dad.
Well,
not that the first one wasn't convincing. It was like it was a rapist who had raped her friend. I don't know if that word is friendly on YouTube. But and so she goes out dressed like a harlot so that she gets attacked and she can defend herself. Not that that's more justified, but this is more personal, and she's trying to save her dad. And that's how this issue ends. She gives the ledger to Kingpin, and then has to do a one-on-one fight with Bullseye, and she wins. I can't even remember how she. Because that's where the fight is fun. Obviously she's outmatched, but she outsmarts Bullseye. Because her dad does laundry, and so she makes a chemical bomb.
Yeah.
and she poisons him with gas, and she puts on a gas mask. But also, there were a bunch of other people in the room.
Yeah.
And only
Bullseye's affected.
Kingpin and all of his henchmen were in the room, and they're just fine. But she Agent Orange's Bullseye. It's a comic book. It's not the best one out there. I don't hate it though. It's the least. It's not as egregious as in its silliness or stupidity as modern comics. It's fun. It's
definitely
fun. Daredevil shows up still in a hoodie, finds him all tied up, and then the volume comes to a close with him digging a knife into Elektra's back because he shows up with evidence. He's like, hey, you didn't have to sell your soul to the devil and Kingpin because I found evidence that would have exonerated your father anyway, and now Kingpin is not going to get arrested because you're a psycho. That's it. That's the comic. And he leaves, and she's sad. So it's a callback to the first volume where she leaves and he's sad. Now he leaves and she's sad. Full circle. Perfect storytelling. That's it. That's the volume, and now is the time for us to play the old favorite game. Does it hold up?
Nice.
So you think Ultimate Elektra, does it hold up, David?
Yeah, I think overall I enjoyed it.
Yes!
Like I said, the art style wasn't my cup of tea, and some of the action sequences were a little bit hammy.
Couple little
silly.
plot holes, a couple sillies.
But overall it was
Still
really
a pretty
good,
fun
engaging.
Yeah.
Great character development, and I
the
really
overall story is really good. So it holds up. There it is. Ultimate Elektra. We're done with that one. And next week we are finally starting Ultimate X-Men Volume 1, The Tomorrow People, and this is the Mark Miller penned run. He did I can't remember how many volumes he did, but he wrote the first big chunk of Ultimate X-Men, and it is highly praised. And the artwork is, I think it's the best artwork from the Ultimate Universe yet, at least that we've seen from what we've read.
Like, I think I would agree with that.
The first couple panels, it's literally, it's a work of art.
Yeah, there's a couple interesting things that they do in this one.
They really have fun with the framing and the paneling is
definitely.
They do some crazy stuff. So thanks for reading along with us. We hope you rediscovered something old or perhaps discovered something new. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If it's true, please take a minute to subscribe to the channel, and you can join us along for the ride. And if you pay me, I'll try to be more entertaining. So please consider joining Patreon and getting your name in the credits with pride.
I'd buy that for $1.